Sono Karin Fischer. Questo è 10 Minutes to Inspire. Hello, Anne.
Hello.
And welcome to Tech.Emotion, our video podcast, 10 Minutes to Inspire.
Thank you.
I've been told from friends and people that somehow you have this nickname, that it's kind of being the godmother of venture capital. How does it feel?
Slightly weird, I have to say. I've been there a long time and really part of the fabric of the industry, so it's very flattering. Thank you.
And what is venture capital?
It's the allocation of resources, mostly money, but also networks and people, to accelerate the foundation of companies and the growth of companies who bring innovation to our society. So you talk about it as being the capital, but it's more than the capital. It is also the experience of the person who is allocating that capital and their networks, and those also matter. So it's the combination.
And why do networks matter? Because, our company, it's called Emotion Network. And for us, it's within, it's something that came from within. And having it in our name was very meaningful for us. But I would like to hear your way of seeing the importance of networks.
Well, networks, they just accelerate everything. They accelerate it in the sense that you learn faster, you move faster, you're more aware of your environment. If you are well networked, you have better understanding of context. And in the end, innovation has to work in a context. It's not in isolation. And so the networking aspect, if it's done intelligently, really allows any entrepreneur anywhere in the world to understand his market, the resources he needs, how to make progress milestone by milestone. And that's why it's so important, because none of what we do today happens in small places. It happens in an individual place as a start, but generally it's taking on global problems.
So in these networks we learn as well, and they're a source of inspiration. Who has been, if you had to identify the who, the where of the what, has most inspired you in life?
In life? Oh gosh. I mean, there have been lots of who's. There's no single who. There was my director of studies at university who basically said there are people, and there are product people. You got to decide which you are, and if you want to be and I decided I was a people person, which is why I moved from science into business. But I've always stayed really well connected to technology because I love the advance of science and technology. But the circumstance that inspired me most was a community service activity in upstate New York when I was working in a diesel engine manufacturer called Cummins. And they're a very well-run company, and they encourage all their young employees to contribute to the society, that the town that they live in. And so I took on this role of what was called a junior achievement counselor. Now, junior achievement is a network. It's an international network. You may not know about it.
Right.
But it basically takes high school students through a journey out of school hours where, with a mentor, which was me in this case, you set up a business, you sell shares, usually to your parents. You then decide what product you're going to build. We built lamps made out of scrap pistons.
Wow.
And you make these and you sell them, and then at the end of the year, you close down the company and you pay out a dividend. And we made, in those 12 months, every mistake on the planet that's associated with business. I had already been to business school, and we were still making lots of mistakes. But it was hilarious, and it was fun, and I was working with these 14-year-olds. We made too much inventory. We forgot to do any marketing before we started selling. We made all of these mistakes. Anyway, we got through it, and I just walked away thinking, I prefer working in small business than in large business. So how do I work in small business and still get paid? So, because I didn't have any money myself. So it was kind of, okay, by investing in them. And so I then set on a journey to become an investor and figuring out how to do it.
Well, I'm extremely fascinated by that because I would like to hear a little bit more, because sometimes there is like venture capital has this reputation, let's say, and reputation is always perception. And that you need capital in order to be able to be an investor. But you're telling a story that you have been able to achieve your goal starting from a different point. So how is this possible? I'm very interested to hear that.
Oh, I think it's about curiosity and actually finding, for me personally, the right fit for my skills and personality. So for me, it wasn't, I always knew I would have to go and raise the money. It wasn't going to be my money, not initially anyway. And although eventually I did become a business angel and invested my own money, because I think it's really important that venture capitalists do have skin in the game as well. You can't run other people's money if you don't have your own alongside it. So for me, it was much more about the problem solving and the creation. Those two things together, this sort of creative problem solving that new companies achieve. That's what excited me. In the business context, I didn't want to run a large corporation or climb a greasy pole or do any of those things. I wanted to see people with great ideas be supported to bring them to market.
And these great ideas are a mix of different type of intelligences, and successful ventures happen to miss out in some of the intelligences that are needed.
Sometimes, yes, we are all aware of companies that get the tech and the market right, and they don't build great organizations. So that certainly can happen. We are, I think, in an odd way in Europe, although we're handicapped because we don't have the depth of capital that the US markets have, or the speed of adoption that sometimes is needed. I think the consequence of that is that the entrepreneurs we have in Europe are far more substantial. They are far more determined. They are far more creative. It requires them to build healthy, well-functioning organizations to last through the challenges of building a company. You can get very quick-fire successes in the US where none of that is happening. Your product takes off so fast, you're hiring willy-nilly, and you pay no attention to the culture of the organization you're building. But I don't think that can happen easily in Europe, because we have a much bigger set of challenges, and we have to create some companies that people want to work for.
Right, values, right? The value-driven companies, startups and entrepreneurs have the responsibility to be natively sustainable. What do you think about that?
I agree completely. And it's always true that not all entrepreneurs can stay leading their companies all the way through. It's extraordinary when they do, but that is extremely rare. But they do have to set the DNA of an organization, what is important and what kind of people they attract. And even if they step aside and some CEO comes in, the DNA will still be there. It doesn't change that easily.
It's kind of like the fingerprints of human beings.
Yeah, but you also have to allow for change. I mean, it's really important that it's not in aspic. It's not sort of set. Because you want it to be good DNA, but one that evolves. Yeah.
So evolution, creativity, curiosity. These are 3 key words that we have to take away from our conversation, right?
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. That was Tech.Emotion, 10 Minutes to Inspire.
Thank you so much.